Hello, and welcome back to Everything Wrong with the World. I am Skylar Tortajada. Today is Valentine's Day. This will not come out on Valentine's Day, so I don't know why I said that. But I'm filming on Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Because what is Valentine's Day but an excuse to eat chocolate? And that's always good. So, today's Valentine's Day. It's Friday. It's Friday the 24th. Not the 24th, the 14th. And it's Friday, and the week is ending, and there's not much going on this week. There's a few different things that I might want to touch on, and there's, one bigger thing that I could kind of lead into. But at the same time, this episode doesn't really have one particular focus, I would say. As of right now, in my mind, planning it out, research-wise, it doesn't really have one focus. It's kind of going to be a more, free, open episode where I'm just talking randomly for 20 minutes. Not all the episodes aren't like that, but still, more random, I guess. Because I've been trying to figure out different topics. There's not much going on right now. I mean, this is coming out next Wednesday, so over the weekend, of course, something giant is going to happen, and then I'm not going to have talked about it, and then I have to wait a whole week. But, there's not much going on right now. There's a lot of stuff that we've covered already. I mean, last week was even a stretch with just the general idea of taxes as the topic. But, there's not many current events going on right now. And a lot of the other, the bigger ideas, the huge political ideas that everyone always argues over, those, it's like beating the dead horse, where it's everyone has talked about it already, which, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff like that where I could talk about it, but I think my perspective would just be something you've heard over and over again, or even if I share multiple perspectives, it's just something you've heard over and over again, and no one's changing their opinion on things like abortion and climate change and all those high-stakes political things. But I mean, maybe people want to hear stuff like that. I'm not really sure. Today I was trying to figure out a topic. Not just today, but the past couple of days, because I just filmed the other episode. It's close filming this week because we don't have school on Monday, the 17th. But I was trying to figure out what to do. I always look up the most searched stuff on Google, the top 10 most searched stuff. Number 1 was Donald Trump president, and number 10 was Valentine's Day memes today. So, I mean, there wasn't much there. With Trump, there was stuff that actually it just came out. It's something that I don't really think is going to be a big deal, and there's not a lot of information on yet. But so about the quid pro quo thing, where Trump was basically something for something else, where he was trying to make a deal with, I honestly forget which country, about if they investigated Joe Biden, then he would send military aid to them. And so they're saying that he might be involved in another pro quo with New York, something about, there's nothing on it really yet. I saw an article, it was published 16 hours ago, last time I checked. So there's not much on it, but basically what they're saying is Trump is trying to cover up his potential tax fraud. He just wants his past taxes re-examined, which has to do a lot with taxes, and what we talked about last week, about how, a lot of people can get around it and just do whatever they want. So I was looking at that. That's something that we're kind of watching, but isn't really exploding yet and isn't really becoming something big, and I don't think it will, because we've talked about Trump's taxes over and over and over again. And again, he's just someone who's going to get away with not paying them. So what can you do? But I was looking at that, and then I was looking at his Twitter, because there was a link to his Twitter and tweets, and he was saying stuff. And the tweets, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody that supports him. I don't like Donald Trump. That's my opinion, but I don't not like other people who like Donald Trump. it's a two-way street. Respect is a two-way street. So I respect everybody else's opinion, but in the case of like the tweets I was looking at, I think that this particular situation that he's kind of starting to tweet about it is something that he's not handling very well. He's like calling out certain people, and he does that time and time again where he just like, he makes accusations, he says things that are kind of, to me, a little bit childish, just because, I mean, I don't know a lot about all the different presidents because I have only seen Obama and Trump in office because I'm really young. But, like, I think that's just a slightly more childish way than a president should carry himself in, like, a public and a media setting. So that was that. But then that's something that, like, again, everyone has talked about how Trump is tweets and they're childish and he tweets all the time and blah, 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 blah. And like that again. And then that's like a very political thing that's saying like this one person, I have these views on this one person is bad because this and this, that and that. Like, I don't want to just sit here and talk about why I don't like Donald Trump. I don't want to just sit here and talk about, you know, I don't know, like my opinion on who I think should, you know, do this or do that. I know a lot of this is like kind of more towards my opinion, but I try to share like general facts and general ideas maybe, rather than just strictly my specific opinion. But I don't, it's hard to do that, especially like because some of the issues I'm passionate about and I really want to talk about and I really want to get my point across. At the same time, I know it's not all about getting my point across, it's about sharing. So I was looking through Twitter. I was looking at different things trending on Twitter. Again, just like random Valentine's Day stuff. People complaining that they don't have a date on Valentine's Day and that everybody's shoving it in their face. But if they had a date on Valentine's Day, they'd be shoving it in other people's face too. Hypocrisy and such. And everybody's like, capitalism. Valentine's Day's a capitalist holiday. But I feel like every holiday, like the idea of holidays is a capitalist idea. Like, you can't. I just don't like you got to ruin everything by being like, oh, it's a capitalist holiday, you know? So that was annoying. I don't know. I'm just talking, this is literally my process on how I was trying to find ideas. I mean, one idea that I thought was interesting to talk about, but the reason why I was vamping was just because I don't want to spend like a whole 20 minutes talking about this because I feel like it's been talked about so much. But, I saw an article, it was like way down at the bottom of like the trending Twitter feed, but it was about climate change and, you know, all the fires that are going on, all the climate change that's happening. And I I'm not one of those people, like, I don't know. I'm not, like, actively trying to do something every single second. Like, I try to conserve. I try to do the best that I can and, like, work it into being a part of my life and, like, consider different aspects of how I can help the environment. But at the same time, it's really difficult. Like, you really need to pay attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it if you're going to do it in a completely effective and good for the environment way. Like, with how everything works in the world, like, everything that is done around us is bad for the environment. Everything that we consume, everything that we buy, everything that we throw away is bad for the environment. And it's like, it's so hard to break that cycle. So that's why I feel like it's hard to talk about and just be like, well, just save the environment, just to do the right thing. And because, like, I don't want to say there's nothing that can be done, because there's definitely stuff that can be done. There's definitely stuff that is being done. There's definitely stuff that we personally can do. But at the same time, it's like if I tell everyone, like, oh, drink with metal straws and recycle and, I don't know, reuse everything and use paper products and all that. I can say that. That doesn't mean I'm going to do that. Everyone can say that. Everyone can say that they're going to try their best and they're going to do everything. And it's so easy to say, but it's so much harder to do. So that's why it's hard. Because politically, we should definitely be focusing more on climate change and helping the environment. And, like, creating laws with companies on how, like, on them needing to regulate their emissions and helping the environment. All that. But at the same time, it's so ineffective to just be like, well, they should fix it, go do this, go do that. Like, they're not listening to us. Like, it's such a hard process. Like, to save the environment, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. Not that we should not be trying, because we definitely should be trying. But if we just say again and again that we're not trying hard enough and that we need to be doing this and that and this and that, it's like, again, it's like beating the dead horse. And it's like, I believe in that. I believe that we should be helping the environment, especially from the government standpoint. But at the same time, just saying it over and over again isn't helping. Because not only is it like something that's really hard to do and like beating the dead horse, but at the same time, it's like some people just have their opinions and you're not going to change it. Like, we did an essay where we had to have counterpoints. Like, we had to have both sides of the argument, which was that global warming does exist and that it needs to be fixed. But also, we had to find arguments, like what arguments are used for that global warming doesn't exist. Like, we've all heard those people that are like, global warming doesn't exist, it's not real. But then sometimes I'm like, how could you believe that? Like, I didn't fully understand, like, what their argument was until, like, I read these articles and everything. So most of it is, like, really circumstantial. So it's, like, people who live in areas with, like, very, like, not drastic weather. They're like, well, the weather's not drastic here, so it must not be drastic anywhere else. Like, they're kind of saying that. They're saying that they don't see a change, despite, like, scientific fact that there is a change. They're saying that they don't see a change, that they don't see it as a problem. Which could, like, you could say, like, oh, our nation isn't seeing a change, so our nation should be involved in helping. Like, I can see that argument, like, from, like, oh, I don't notice a change. So that was one of the arguments. There was a couple other ones, like, about the glaciers that, like, oh, there was arguments that, like, you know how, like, seasons change and, like, almost that if you think about a million years ago, the geography of the world was really different from what it is now. Like, not just, like, actual formation, like Pangea and it spreads apart, but, like, temperature and everything. And so what people say is that, like, the temperature is meant to change and the Earth is meant to change. And that this is all just, like, a process, like, almost like a season changing or, like, an era changing of the climate. Which I understand that, like, yes, the Earth changes and it has changed in the past. It's been fine. But at the same time, I think the changes that are happening now are really harmful and some even irreversible in a way that it will make Earth inhabitable to us. But, you know, we have all these solutions for it. Like, everybody's coming up with these solutions, like recycling and the whole metal straw thing and all that. But we watched a video in science class about how everything that we buy and everything that we produce, it, like, hurts the environment. Like, companies cut down trees to, like, make something in a factory, and the factory, like, releases chemicals into the air when it's being made, and, like, even really harmful chemicals. Like, I didn't realize that there's, like, really harmful chemicals in, like, almost every mass-produced thing that we own. And then they sell those, and then those get thrown out, and they get burned, and then all the chemicals in the product are released back into the air when it's burned, and then the ash just gets poured into landfills, which are just, like, awful for the environment. And then so we think about all this waste that we produce and how that's bad for the environment and how it's all burned up and everything, and we think, well, we can just recycle it, right? But again, relating back to something we did in school, last year, at the end of the year in Kanakamak, which is one of the middle schools here before we come to the high school, we learned all about recycling and, like all the, like, plastic and, like, litter in the ocean and everything like that. And they don't really recycle what you recycle. Like, especially in, like, a small town like this, if you watch, like, sometimes I'll see the recycling truck come by my house, and you have, like, we have that circular bin, like, it's like a circular, like a cylinder, and it's like a garbage can, and that's where you're supposed to put all the bottles and everything, and then we put the cardboard in, like, this, like, square bin next to it, right? But they just pour those into the same truck. Like, they just pour both things in, and it's just, like, one big truck, and that's all. Because it's single stream recycling, which means, like, everything just goes to the same place. But when everything goes to the same place, like, it's not actually getting recycled. Not only because, like, we don't have the systems for it and we don't want to pay of, like, breaking everything down and making it a deal, even though that's what's going to happen. It's shipped overseas. But then overseas, there's like this whole other process where it becomes like a job creator for people overseas, where it's like really, really poor people and families can like sort through all this and like find aluminum and different things that can be used. Almost as if they're mining, but they're mining in piles of trash and the conditions are awful. So it does create jobs overseas, but also they're awful jobs. They're jobs that should be created in other ways because they have awful conditions for the people that have to do them. Of trash. And then even if it's sorted through, most of it doesn't get used by like big companies in production or because most of the time when we're recycling, even if the town has all the money to bring it to the right place and get it sorted in a clean way and get it to the right people, most of the stuff that we recycle, we're not recycling correctly because there's all these rules on it that we don't know. Like, you have to clean out everything you recycle. Like, if there's food in it, you have to like literally wash it. You have to like completely separate it. If there's like it's a multi-stream recycling, you have to completely separate it. When we were watching that video in Science, the woman who is like the spokesperson for the video was talking about things are made so that you can't recycle them. Like juice boxes have like layers. They have like a layer of like wax on the inside, like it from like spilling out, like like wax, and then aluminum paper, and then cardboard, and then like they have all these layers so that they can't be separated like that. And then so you would need to completely separate, but then your town would also need to have the funds to like keep it separated and get it to the right place, which most towns don't want to do. Recycling and like helping the environment through different ways of production is really expensive because we were talking, or not we, but in the video they were talking about how like when you go to the store to buy something, sometimes you might think, oh, this is overpriced because of corporate greed or whatever, but actually a lot of it's greatly underpriced because of they underpay factory workers and they underpay for all these toxic materials, and they do all this like overseas stuff so that they can like cut back on what you need to pay in order for that to be on the shelf and like everything. So what you need to pay for it is actually a lot less than it would cost to produce it organically. So it costs more to buy like sustainable products, and that's why everybody, like a lot of people, don't want to worry about it. And that's the same reason why like a lot of townships and countries and states don't want to worry about like creating a really high-end recycling program to get everything to the right place, because it would cost a lot of money. It would cost more money than just like going and blowing up a mountain and using all the metals in there and depleting Earth's resources. So there's a lot behind that, and I feel like a lot of the climate change and helping the environment stuff is, again, like repetitive over and over again. But I just saw that and I thought there's some interesting points there. Maybe you haven't heard some of them, maybe you have. But let me know definitely what you want to hear about, if you want to hear about those broader, more high-profile topics. If you want to hear, if I'm not giving a well-rounded view of like the other side, comment your side of it. Comment how you see it, and we can kind of talk about the counterpoints that we have. But definitely let me know topics and everything. I'm sorry if this was a little jumping around. I'm sorry if this was boring. But if you didn't like this, maybe tune in next week for next week's episode, because you might like that episode better. So thank you for everyone who watches. Thank you for everyone who comments or suggests topics. Definitely let me know what you want to hear. Again, with this podcast, I'm just starting up. So if there's any like technical difficulties, I apologize. Last week there was supposed to be a link in the description. And there wasn't, and I had to comment it and everything, but you can find it underneath the video in the comments and all that good stuff. I'm working with new cameras. I'm trying to figure everything out. So thank you for sticking with me, trying to figure everything out. Thank you for anybody who likes, shares, comments on the videos, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And thanks for watching. I will see you next week. I'll see you next week. Again, thanks for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing to the PWAY-TV YouTube channel.